Politics, a word that is known and applied at a global scale, a vital element in several countries, a very sensitive and even a controversial topic in certain cases, mostly because of the manipulation and even abuse of power. When one talks about power in politics, political dynasties may come to mind, and that is exactly the topic that we will be discussing in this documentary. Political dynasties situated in the Philippines. So what are political dynasties? Well, these are families that have established political and possibly even economic dominance in a particular area and are considered commonplace in the political landscape of the country. Oftentimes, people in power will use their influence in order to ensure that their family remains in power and that this will be passed along their relatives. Political dynasties are usually to a particular province or city, where members of the same family have continually governed or represented the area for possibly several generations. Kinship is a key factor in political dynasties, since it is defined as a social network of persons through marriage, blood, or adoption. On a more specific note, kinship politics is built on the classical political principle, blood is thicker than water. It asserts that power should be distributed among family members. It is commonly found in tribal societies across the world, where kin ancestry is applied to determine the system of communal leadership. Kinship politics is basically the traditional pattern of passing down political power among family members. Now, let's talk about the history of political dynasty. For decades, clans have remained in control of politics both in the local and national levels. So let's talk about the history of political dynasty in the Philippines. Political dynasty was recorded during the pre-Magellanic period. In the book of Renato Constantino entitled The Making of a Filipino, he pointed out that communities at this time were already accustomed to an early form of government and politics. In the pre-colonial society, they have datu, maharlika, and raha that serve as the rulers and stewards of tribal communities. Also served as archetypal models for the formation of political dynasties in the Philippines. During the Spanish colonial period, principles were introduced where it embodied the new king of local elite. The Principalia, according to Constantino, the oligarchs of the country were constituted by the Principalia, Mestizos, Ilustrados, Mestizos Sangli, Creole, and Chinese Mestizos. In landlords and capitalists, 20% of 87 families that controlled the 120 manufacturing companies from 1964 to 1986 were involved in the politics. Now let's talk about the pros and cons of political dynasty. Political dynasty has also its pros and cons. Advantage is that since the other members of the family were in the government, they have enough background in politics. They know how to deal with people and they know how to work with the government since their family members are involved with politics. Thus, this makes them a good leader. On the other hand, its disadvantage is they hold the ruling power over the many years. Thus, they can benefit more through the taxes that the people pay, and also exercise of power might be abused.
Ate, para sa'yo, ano ang political dynasty?
Para sa akin, ang political dynasty ay yung magkakapamilya lang na tumatagpo sa loob ng politika.
Sa tingin mo, ate, ang political dynasty, may mabuting naidudulot ba ito sa ekonomiya ng bansa?
Para sa akin, parang hindi. Kasi mas maganda kasi yung ibigay yung opportunity sa iba para malaman natin kung ano ang kaya nilang ibigay para sa ating bansa.
Sino-sino ba ang mga kilala mong malalaking pamilya na sumasabak sa political dynasty?
Sa ngayon, ang alam ko, Duterte family, Binay, and Marcos. Yun lang.
Sige po, ate. Maraming salamat.
Thank you din.
Families that are into politics, wherein most of them wants to become or wants to have a position in the government. Each and every one of them.
Ma'am, do you think, ma'am, political dynasty is good for the economy of the country?
Case-to-case basis. Not every not everyone, no, included in the political dynasty of a family are corrupt people. No, sometimes you want to. Sometimes they really would. No, they have this for the economy, case to case basis, really. No, because not everyone in the family are corrupt political leaders. No, some of them they really care for the country, but others, that's why they want to be in the politics, every single family, because of what they can get out of the people from the Philippine island.
Ma'am, sino-sino sa tingin mo ang mga family na involved sa political dynasty?
Binay family is one. Marcos family is one. Aquino is another.
So, good afternoon. For you, what is political dynasty?
I think it is yung family, madaming members na involved sa politics.
Do you think political dynasty is good for the economy of the country?
Actually, no, because political dynasty leads to abuse of power, usually. Kasi, yung naririnig ko about political dynasty, like, gusto ng family, sila lang talaga mag-rule sa isang place. Then, kung meron iba mag-rule, parang minsan nga yung family papatayan na para sa position.
Sino-sino ba sa tingin mo ang mga families na involved sa political dynasty?
I think si Duterte pati yun sila Pinay and dati yun sila Marcos. Kasi usually kasi, yun, alam ko kasi like example yun, example si Yun sa mayor, like parang susunod yun kanya, asawa niya para mag-rule. Ganun, so yun kay Binay, di ba ganun yun sa place nila? Like yun, una si Binay, then yung nag-anak niya, yung kapatid ng anak, ang ganun.
Sige, yun lang po. Thank you so much. What is political dynasty?
A political dynasty is more than just a collection of people in the same family running for government. I think that in its worst, political dynasties are fundamentally threats to democracy because they put way too much power in the hands of a certain party, a certain group of individuals who share common ancestries, common heritage, who have some sort of incentive to abuse their power.
And second question, do you think political dynasty is good for the country's economy?
Just because like your relatives are running in government doesn't necessarily make it a good or bad thing. But oftentimes, political dynasties lead to patterns of systematic abuse, as well as some sort of social hierarchization that makes areas with pervasive large political dynasties tend to be less well off. For example, the region of Zamboanga del Norte, which has a very high social and income inequality because of the pervasiveness of a certain group in power. I feel like it's not necessarily good or bad, but way too often they're incentivized to abuse the power.
Then, for the last question, sino-sino ba sa tingin mo ang mga malalaking pamilya na sumasabak sa political dynasty here in the Philippines?
Names I can list at the top of my head. The two main rival families are definitely the Aquinos and the Marcoses. Then in the region, Mindanao especially is known for a lot of high-profile and controversial families. Like for example, the Apatuans, the Labad-Labads, those people. And in Zamboanga City, although they aren't very controversial, but then like there's a lot of political clout to the family name Climaco. There's way too much power associated with certain family names in certain regions in this country.
So, for you, what is political dynasty?
Okay lang po, magtagalog. Yung political dynasty po, kumbaga, for example, yung situation in which yung papa niya or isa sa family member is nasa isang posisyon, tapos instead na mag-conduct po ng election is parang pinapass by na lang yung position to another family member.
So, do you think political dynasty is good for the economy in our country?
It depends po whether good na good yung nasa position or not. Kasi if hindi po good, then mag-pass lang po siya, di ba? I-pass lang yung position. So, if ngayon present, nasa kamay siya ng isang hindi mabuting mamumuno, then i-pass by niya sa isa namang hindi mabuti. So, hindi po siya good. Pero if mabuti po yung mga namumuno, then magiging better po siya.
Lastly, sino-sino ba sa tingin mo ang mga malalaking pamilya na sumasabak sa political dynasty?
Duterte family.
Recommendation. So after hearing all of that history and the pros and cons of political dynasty, what do I recommend for this issue? Here are a few of them. The Anti-Political Dynasty Bill, a possible solution that's before the Philippine Congress right now. This bill would prohibit any spouse or first-degree relation, including parents, siblings, and children, of an incumbent elected official from seeking elected office. At first blush, the bill may seem anti-democratic, as it temporarily suspends the rights of many individuals to seek elected office. Still, in the Philippines, where the concentration of political power has bred such a strong culture of corruption, certain rights may need to be sacrificed. It is a drastic problem in need of a drastic solution. And former Chief Justice Renato Espuno has a solution. He said, and I quote, "The only way to end political dynasties is to change the Constitution." He said this as he led the launch of Bagong Sistema, Bagong Pag-asa, a new movement seeking to change the country's political system by revising the 1987 Charter. He also proposed that socio-economic rights should be included in the Bill of Rights, like political and civil rights, so that they become demandable and the poor have a better chance of improving their lot in society. But he said, the Constitutional Convention must truly represent the interests of the Filipino people and not be dominated by the traditional politicians, political parties, political dynasties, and interest groups. Puno said, having both elected and appointed delegates, the Constitutional Convention is not new, citing the case of Australia when it amended its constitution in 1998. The Australian Constitutional Convention had equal number of elected and appointed delegates. He noted, thus, changing the constitution is the most effective and most efficient way of ending political dynasties in the Philippines once and for all.